Let's talk about outreach, cold outreach, and how to start conversations with strangers without being spammy, weird, or annoying. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ryan Dowdy and I am a sales coach. I help brand new entrepreneurs build six-figure businesses by mastering your sales conversations and your mindset. And I am super excited about this conversation because it is one I get a lot of questions about. If you're watching us here on YouTube, please make sure that you tap the bell to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Uncensored Sales TV. So let's talk about outreach, cold outreach, direct messaging, all the drama that comes up for you when we talk about it. And I really want to actually first focus on the mindset piece of this. So there are a lot of people out there that really believe that outreach, cold outreach is just the worst thing ever to do in business. And don't ever direct message a stranger. And don't ever, DM me. If I wanted something, I would reach out to you. And that has caused you as a brand new entrepreneur to have a lot of fear and anxiety about the idea of sending a message to a stranger without having permission to do so. And I want to kind of level set on that because I think it's really important for us to think about all of the outreach that we do as we're growing a business is actually cold outreach. In and of itself, building a relationship with a stranger is cold outreach. If you go to a networking event to meet new people, it's cold outreach. If you meet a friend at a cocktail party who introduces you to somebody new, it's cold outreach. Guys, we are all learning and meeting new people all of the time. That means that these are technically cold leads, people we did not know before, and are starting conversations and relationships with them. So that is the first thing I want you to think about is if you're like, oh, I don't want to do cold outreach. Really, guys, it's all cold outreach when we're networking and connecting and talking to strangers. It's all about building relationships with new people, which is where the magic happens in sales. So how do we do any kind of outreach without being spammy, without being weird, without pissing people off? Because what I have learned is most people that are really up in arms about cold outreach are actually not too upset about cold outreach in general. They are upset about the cold pitch. It is about somebody trying to sell them something in their direct messages without ever building with a relationship, without ever qualifying them for the product, without ever in any way, shape, or form seeing do you have a need or a want for my product or service. That is the kind of cold outreach that people don't like. That is what fires people up. And the reason I know this is I've polled a lot of people. I've asked a lot of questions about this, and I really want you guys to think about it. It is not about the idea of I don't ever want to connect with a stranger. It's the idea of I don't ever want to be sold something I didn't give someone permission to sell me, right? And that is one of my number one rules. We never sell to anyone unless we have permission to do so. And it's so important for you to remember that we are not selling things to people who aren't interested, who don't want to have a conversation. We're not forcing our products or services onto anyone. We are focusing on building relationships. And when someone does in some way, shape, or form fit the criteria of a potential ideal client, we want to start building a relationship with them. And we do that through outreach. So call it cold outreach, call it what you want to call it. That is really what it looks like in sales. And that is what happens in the corporate world that I am slowly but surely working on bringing into entrepreneurship is this idea of building relationships with strangers is not a bad thing. So how do we do that in a way that doesn't feel gross, where they don't feel like they're getting cold pitched, where they don't feel like it's being invasive? So the first thing is I want to do when we start conversations with strangers is I always want to make it about them. I always want to ask them a question about what does that look like? So say for instance, you are a life coach and you connect with somebody in a Facebook community, and it's someone that just totally fits the criteria of an ideal client for you. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just really love that woman. I think she's fantastic. How do I get in touch with her? How do I, reach out to her? How do I start building a relationship with her without being spammy or weird? So what I recommend doing is going and checking out whatever social profile you guys connected on. So maybe you connected on Facebook and going and checking out her Facebook and then sending her a direct message that says, hey, Sarah, you and I are in a Facebook group together and you're always giving such fantastic advice. So I checked out your profile and I noticed that you have 2 kids that appear to be same in age to my kiddos. How old are your kiddos? And again, just thank you so much for providing so much value in that community, right? It was all about her. You weren't pitching her anything. You weren't asking her anything. You were starting a conversation with her about her. Will she respond? Who knows, guys? The response rate is somewhere between 20 and 30%. So I think that sometimes too, we think that, well, nobody responded. Well, if you send 10 messages and 3 people respond, you actually have a well above average response rate in your outreach. So first things first, make it about them. Second of all, I want you to always ask questions. questions, right? That is how we continue conversations. Anytime you're stuck in a conversation, ask somebody a question about themselves. It is the fastest way to build a relationship, to learn about them, is to ask them a question. So notice I had that example of the life coach with Sarah and the woman we reached out to, and it's like, oh, it looks like our kids are similar in age. How old are your kids, right? I've asked a question. She doesn't have to think. She doesn't have to come up with anything. I have basically told her how to respond to me by asking her a question. So we always want to make sure when we're having a conversation with someone new that we are asking questions, not in a way to interrogate, but in a way to get to know them. And so they don't have to come up with what to say next. Some people are really, anxious and uncomfortable talking to new people. So I never want them to have to come up with the burden of continuing the conversation. And the way that I can do that is by always asking a question. Number 3 is to be genuine. So if you are not at all interested in building a relationship with Sarah and learning about her kiddos, don't ask that question. Guys, people can smell BS from a mile away. Believe me, I know they can. As an online entrepreneur, I get a ton of messages all of the time. People can smell BS a mile away. So make sure that you're being really genuine in your outreach. If you don't have any interest in their kiddos, don't ask them a question about their kiddos, right? If you don't have any interest in the work that they do, don't ask a question in that way. So please make sure that you're being genuine here, and that you are coming from a place of genuinely building relationships. Because like I said, people will smell it a mile away and they won't like it, and you will instantly come off as spammy. So make sure that wherever you are, whatever energy that you are in when you are doing this outreach, that you're really mindful of who the other person is and being really genuine in that connection. Another great way to do that is to think about how you would want someone to reach out to you. If you received this message, would it feel genuine? Would it feel, would you see connection in this? Would this be a conversation you would want to be a part of? That's always a really good litmus test of your outreach, okay? 4th piece of advice on starting conversations with strangers is to do your research. Guys, the internet gives us so many tools, and it takes like 90 seconds to do some research on someone, to learn a little bit about them, to, check out their Facebook page, check out their Instagram, check out their LinkedIn. If you're a business owner, check out their website, right? It takes 90 seconds to do that research, and it will put you light years ahead of anybody else who's cold pitching them spammy stuff, because you actually took the time to learn something about them. It goes back to my first point, which was always making it about them. But doing that research, finding some way to connect on a personal level, will definitely get you a much higher response rate, and also help you be more confident in that outreach, because you have found that connection. It's not just a shot in the dark. You've actually found a real place to connect with this person. And then the final piece of this, guys, in any kind of outreach, is make sure that you're personalizing. Again, going back to being genuine, people can smell a copy and pasted message a mile away. They know when it is a copy and pasted message. They can tell, right? Some of you, have any of you ever received the message from someone who actually had like the wrong name in it, when it was like, hey, Carol, and you're like, my name's not Carol, right? It was because somebody copied and pasted a message that they sent to 10 people. That never feels good. Even if your heart's in the right place, that never feels good. So making sure that there's some level of personalization. Again, this goes back to doing your research and then personalizing that conversation specifically to that person. So you're always saying kind of the same thing when you're starting new relationships and connecting with new people. I'm not proposing that we totally reinvent the wheel here, but I am saying find some level of personalization so the person knows that you're interested in them. Because remember, sales, getting clients, it's all about relationship building. It's all about having that connection with someone, and human to human connection. That's how we get clients in our business. And that is how your outreach will stand out over and above any other kind of outreach that people are getting. So quick review for you guys. How to start conversations with strangers. Number 1 is to always make it about them. Okay, if your message has the word I in it too many times, rewrite it. Okay, it's always about them. Number 2 is to ask questions. That's how we continue conversations. You take on the burden of controlling the conversation by asking questions. Number 3 is to be genuine. Okay, don't connect with people you don't want to connect with. And guys, go with your gut. Especially most of you watching this are women. You're intuitive. You can decide whether or not, like, would I have a cup of coffee with this person? Would I have a glass of wine with this person? And if the answer is no, then no, they're not your people. Then don't have that conversation. Then don't start that conversation. People will sense it. So be genuine. Number 4, do your research. Take 90 seconds. Yes, this takes time. Relationship building takes time. Building a business takes time. 90 seconds to build a connection that could result in a client that is worth thousands of dollars is 110% worth it. Okay, so do your research, and then finally personalize your message. Personalize your outreach. Make that person feel like you genuinely care about getting to know them, that you have taken that time to do that research, and that you are a real person on the other side of it, not a bot, not a copy and pasted whatever, and really seeking to find that connection. So that is how we start start conversations with strangers without being spammy, without being weird, without being uncomfortable, without pitching our services without permission, because that is never something I would encourage you to do as a sales coach who's done a ton of cold calling in my day. Again, the reason that I was able to get through to people is I wasn't selling anything. I was only selling the appointment and the relationship. And that is really the secret to outreach in a really productive way. If you are not yet a member of the Ambitious Women Entrepreneurs Mastering Sales Skills group, I would love for you to join us over there. We do a ton of free training all about networking, connecting, selling, and serving. We'd love to have you. Also, I have a fantastic free resource for you. It is called the Uncensored Sales System. It is my proven 5-step system from lead generation to closing and onboarding. It's a really great PDF, so you can feel free to download that. And then, of course, if you're not following us yet on Instagram, we'd love to hang out with you. It's at Uncensored Sales. And as always, tap the bell to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Uncensored Sales TV, and I'll see you in the next video.